a 9-year-old boy stood in a bathroom in the mountains of Kentucky, holding a cleaning brush. He was the youngest child in the whole school, and his job was to clean the toilets. 100 older boys. One small boy with a brush. That boy did not speak much English. He was thousands of miles from his parents. He had been sent to America with almost nothing. And the school his family thought was a safe place turned out to be something closer to a place for troubled, violent kids. Now I want you to hear something, because it is almost impossible to believe. That same little boy, the one cleaning toilets, grew up to run the most valuable company in the world. His name is Jensen Huang. And today, he is worth more than $100 billion. So how does a child go from scrubbing a bathroom floor to leading the company that powers the entire age of artificial intelligence? That is the story I want to tell you today. But this is not really a story about money or chips or business. This is a story about something deeper. It is a story about what happens to a person who is placed in the lowest, hardest place and refuses to let that place define him. And by the end of this, I think you will look at your own hard moments very differently. You will see that the lowest place you have ever stood might not be the end of your story. It might be the beginning of it. So let me tell you about Jensen Huang. Let us begin with the boy in Kentucky. Jensen Huang was born in Taiwan in 1963. When he was very young, his family moved to Thailand. But Thailand at that time was not stable. There was unrest. There was danger. And his parents made a decision that must have broken their hearts. They decided to send their 2 young sons across the world, to America, alone. They believed America would give their children a future that they could not give them at home. Think about that for a moment. Imagine being a parent and loving your children so much that you are willing to send them away, to let them go, to not see them just so they might have a better life. That is what Jensen's parents did. They gave up having their sons close so their sons could have a chance. The boys were sent to live with relatives. And then they were placed in a school in Kentucky. The family thought it was a fine boarding school. But it was not what they imagined. It was in one of the poorest parts of the country. The students were rough. Many of them carried knives. Many of them smoked. And into this place walked a small 9-year-old boy from Taiwan who barely spoke the language. Every student at that school had a job. Jensen's older brother was sent to work in the fields. And Jensen, the youngest boy there, was given the job of cleaning the bathrooms. Let me ask you a question. If you were that boy, what would you tell yourself? Would you say, "This is unfair"? Would you say, "Why me"? Would you say, "I am too small, I am too far from home, I cannot do this"? It would be so easy to break in a place like that. So easy to become bitter. So easy to give up on yourself. But here's what is remarkable. When Jensen Huang talks about those years now, he does not talk about them with anger. He does not talk about them as a tragedy. He remembers many good things from that time. He found a way to survive, and even to find small joys, in the place that would have crushed most people. And this is the first lesson hidden inside his story. It is not the hard place that defines you. It is what you decide to become inside the hard place. The same school. The same brush. The same toilets. One boy might come out of that broken forever. Another boy comes out stronger than steel. The difference is not the situation. The difference is what happens inside the person. So let me ask you, have you ever been placed somewhere you did not choose? A hard job, a painful year, a situation that felt unfair and too heavy for you to carry? You are not alone in that. Everyone, at some point, stands in their own version of that Kentucky bathroom. The question is never whether hard places will come. They will. The question is who you decide to be while you are standing in them. And I want you to notice one more thing about how he carried those years. When most people talk about the hardest parts of their past, their voice changes. They grow heavy, they grow bitter. But when Jensen Huang talks about cleaning those toilets, he often laughs. He has even joked that he just wished the older boys had been a little more careful in the bathroom. He can laugh about it. After all these years, he can laugh. That is not because the hardship was small, it was not. It is because he refused to let it become the center of his story. He took the hardest thing, and he made it just one chapter, not the whole book. He carried it lightly, instead of letting it crush him. There is real strength in that. Not the strength of never being hurt, but the strength of not letting the hurt define you forever. The strength to look back at the hardest place you ever stood, and to be able, one day, to even smile about how far you have come. Maybe you are not there yet with your own hard chapter. Maybe it still hurts too much to laugh. That is okay, but know that it is possible. One day, the thing that is breaking you now may become just one chapter in a much larger story. A chapter you survived. A chapter that made you who you are. Let us move to the second part of his story. The dishwasher. Eventually, Jensen's family reunited and they settled in Oregon in the United States. And there, as a teenager, Jensen got his first real job in America. He became a dishwasher at a restaurant called Denny's. Now, a dishwasher is one of the lowest jobs in any restaurant. You stand at a sink for hours. You scrub plates covered in other people's food. It is hot, it is messy, and no one notices you. Most teenagers would do that job carelessly. They would do the minimum and dream of being somewhere else. But listen to how Jensen describes it. Years later, when he was already a billionaire, he was asked about that first job. And he did not skip over it or feel ashamed of it. He said, "My first job before being a chief executive was a dishwasher. And I did that very well," he said. "I planned my work. I was organized." He used a phrase from Professional Kitchens, mise en place, which means everything in its proper place. And then he said something I want you to really hear. He said, "I washed the living daylights out of those dishes." He was the best dishwasher that restaurant had. The best. At washing dishes. Now, why does this matter? Why am I telling you about a teenager washing plates? Because here is the truth that Jensen Huang understood even as a boy. The size of the job does not decide the size of the effort. He could not control that he was just a dishwasher. But he could control how he washed those dishes. And he decided to be excellent at the small thing in front of him. Let me give you a comparison. Imagine two teenagers, both washing dishes at the same restaurant. The first one thinks, "This job is beneath me. This does not matter. I will do as little as I can." He drifts through his shifts, watching the clock, waiting to leave. The second one thinks, "This is the job I have right now, so I will do it better than anyone ever has." He is organized. He is fast. He never leaves his station empty-handed. After a few years, Who do you think becomes the kind of person who can build something great? Not the one who waited for a big opportunity to finally try hard. The one who tried hard at the small thing, long before anyone was watching. Because here is what most people get wrong. They think, I will give my best when I finally get something worthy of my best. I will work hard when the job is important. I will care when it really matters. But it does not work that way. The way you do the small thing is the way you will do the big thing. If you cannot pour yourself into washing dishes, you will not suddenly pour yourself into running a company. Excellence is not something you switch on later. It is a habit you build now, in the ordinary, in the unglamorous, in the work that no one sees. So let me ask you, what is the small, unglamorous thing in your life right now? The job you think is beneath you. The task you do carelessly because you think it does not matter. What would happen if you washed the living daylights out of it? You might be surprised. Because the people who rise are almost never the people who were given great things to do. They are the people who did small things greatly until the great things came to them. Let us go to the third part, the booth where everything began. Jensen Huang did not stay a dishwasher. He studied hard. He earned a degree in engineering. He went on to get an advanced degree from Stanford. And he began working as an engineer in the world of computers. And then, in 1993, the year he turned 30, something happened. Something that sounds almost too simple to be true. Jensen and two friends, two other engineers, sat down together in a booth at a Denny's restaurant. The same kind of restaurant where he had once washed dishes as a boy. And over coffee and breakfast food, in that booth, they sketched out an idea for a new company. They believed that regular computers would never be powerful enough to do everything the future would need. They believed the world would need a special kind of chip. A chip that could do things ordinary computers could not. And they decided to build a company to make it. That company became NVIDIA. There was no fancy office. There was no rich investor handing them millions. There was no perfect plan. There were 3 engineers in a diner booth, some pancakes, a lot of coffee, and a belief. Just a belief. I love this part of the story, and I want you to sit with it for a moment. Because we tend to imagine that great things begin in great places. We imagine grand offices, important people, perfect conditions. We look at our own ordinary lives, our own small kitchens and crowded rooms and modest beginnings, and we think, nothing important could ever start here. But the most valuable company in the world began in a diner booth. It began in the kind of ordinary place you might eat breakfast on a tired morning. It began with people who had no guarantee, no certainty, nothing but an idea and the courage to chase it. So let me ask you, have you been waiting for the perfect place to begin? The perfect time? The perfect conditions before you let yourself start the thing you dream about? Stop waiting. The perfect place does not exist. The perfect time never comes. Great things do not begin in great places. They begin wherever a person decides to begin. They begin in diner booths. They begin in small apartments. They begin exactly where you are sitting right now. You do not need a better place to start. You only need to start. Let us move to the fourth part. The failure that almost ended everything. Now here is where many people imagine the story becomes easy. The company is founded, the dream is alive, and everything goes smoothly from there, right? Not at all. NVIDIA's very first product, their first chip, was released in 1995. And it failed. It did not work the way they hoped. The market was not ready for it. It was, by most measures, a flop. A commercial failure. The thing they had poured everything into did not succeed. The company nearly died. Right at the very beginning, the dream almost ended. 3 engineers, a bold idea, a company named after envy, and their first creation fell flat. Let me ask you something. If you had given up your career, your comfort, your security to chase a dream, and your very first attempt failed, what would you do? Would you quit? Would you tell yourself, I knew it, this was a mistake. I am not good enough for this. That is the moment most dreams die. Not at the beginning, when everyone is excited, but right after the first failure, when the excitement is gone and the proof of failure is sitting right in front of you. But Jensen Huang and his team did not quit. They looked at the failure, and instead of seeing the end, they saw information. They learned, they changed direction. They kept going. And here is something Jensen has said about these early days that I find almost unbelievable. Looking back, he has said that if he had truly known how hard it would be, he might never have started. He has described the idea behind the company as, in his words, an unfundable idea. He has said the company had something close to a 0% chance of success. A market problem, a technology problem, and more all at once. Almost no chance. Think about that. The man who built the most valuable company in the world says it had nearly 0% chance of working. And he has even said that knowing what he knows now, he might not have funded it himself. So why did it succeed? It succeeded because they did not know they were supposed to fail. They believed anyway. They kept going through the failure that should have stopped them. There is a quote from those early days that says everything. The team said, "It did not matter to us whether people believed in us. We believed in ourselves." Let me repeat that because I want it to land. It did not matter whether other people believed in them. They believed in themselves. So let me ask you, whose belief are you waiting for? Are you waiting for your family to believe in you? For your friends to approve? For the world to finally see your worth before you allow yourself to try? You may be waiting forever. Because the people who build remarkable lives are almost never the people everyone believed in. They are the people who believed in themselves when no one else did. Who kept going after the first failure? Who treated failure not as a verdict, but as a lesson? Your first attempt may fail. That is not a sign to stop. It is part of the path. Everyone who ever built anything failed first. The only difference between them and the people who quit is that they got up one more time. Let us go to the 5th part. The fear that became his fuel. Now I want to share with you the strangest and I think the most beautiful part of Jensen Huang's story. Because it is about fear, and it might change how you think about your own. Even after NVIDIA became successful, even after it became huge, Jensen Huang carried a phrase with him. For years, he would begin his big talks to his employees with the same words. He would say, "Our company is 30 days from going out of business. 30 days from going out of business." The leader of one of the most powerful companies on earth telling his people, "We are always close to the edge." Now, why would he say that? Was he just being negative? There is something much deeper here. Jensen Huang has said that he does not really fear artificial intelligence or technology or his competitors. The thing he fears is failure. And instead of running from that fear, instead of pretending it is not there, he uses it. He lets the fear keep him awake. He lets it keep him sharp. He lets it push him to do his best work. He learned this as a child in that hard school in Kentucky. He learned to take pressure, the kind of pressure that would break most people, and turn it into focus. To get into the difficult moment, concentrate, and do his best work precisely when things are hardest. This is the opposite of what most of us do. When we feel fear, we freeze. We run. We hide. We let the fear stop us. We say, "I am too afraid, so I will not try." But Jensen Huang shows us another way. He shows us that fear does not have to be your enemy. Fear can be your fuel. Let me give you a comparison. Imagine two people facing the same frightening challenge. The first person feels the fear and says, "This fear means I should stop." The fear grows, and it swallows them, and they give up. The second person feels the exact same fear and says, "This fear means this matters. This fear means I am awake. This fear will keep me sharp." And they use the fear to push forward. Same fear, two completely different lives. I want you to really understand this, because I think so many of us are held back not by our lack of ability, but by our fear. We feel afraid, and we believe that the fear is a stop sign. But what if it is not a stop sign? What if your fear is simply a sign that you care deeply, that this matters to you, that you are standing at the edge of something important? The goal was never to feel no fear. The brave are not the ones without fear. The brave are the ones who feel the fear and move anyway. So let me ask you, what are you afraid of right now? And what would happen if, instead of letting that fear stop you, you let it wake you up? What if your fear is not proof that you should quit, but proof that you are alive and standing in front of something worth doing? You do not have to wait for the fear to disappear. It may never disappear. You only have to learn, like that boy from Kentucky, to do your best work while it is still there. Before we reach the end, I want to slow down and stay with each part of his story a little longer, because there are things hidden inside it that I do not want you to miss. They are too important. Let me go back to that boy in Kentucky one more time, because I think about him often. Picture him. 9 years old. He does not choose to be there. He does not choose the rough boys or the knives or the bathrooms he has to clean. He does not choose to be the smallest, the youngest, the furthest from home. None of it was his choice. It was simply where life placed him. And I think that is the part that touches me most, because so much of our pain in life comes from places we did not choose. You did not choose the family you were born into. You did not choose the country, the money, the body, the struggles you started with. You did not choose many of the hardest things that happened to you. And it is so easy, when you did not choose your hard place, to feel like a victim. To feel that life is against you. To look at others who started higher and feel the bitterness rise. But here is what that boy understood somehow, even without the words for it. He could not choose where he was placed. But he could choose who he would be there. That choice was always his. And it is always yours. Let me ask you a question. Two children are placed in the same hard school, the same rough boys, the same loneliness. The first child says, "This is unfair," and the unfairness fills him with anger, and the anger follows him for the rest of his life. The second child says, "This is hard, but I will find a way to survive, and even to find good in it." Years later, who is free? Not the one still carrying the anger, the one who decided long ago that the hard place would not own him. You cannot always choose your circumstances, but you can always choose your response. That space, between what happens to you and how you respond, that small space is where your entire life is decided. The hard place is not your enemy. Your response to it is everything. So if you are standing in a hard place right now, one you did not choose, please hear this. The unfairness is real. Your pain is real. But you still hold the one thing that matters most. You still get to choose who you become inside it. And no one can take that choice from you. Now let me return to the dishwasher, because there is more there too. I told you that Jensen washed those dishes better than anyone, that he was organized, that he never left his station empty-handed. But I want you to notice something about when he did this. He did it as a teenager. Long before anyone knew his name. Long before there was any reward for it. No one was filming him. No one was going to promote him to chief executive for washing dishes well. There was no prize, and yet he gave it everything. Why? Because excellence, real excellence, is not something you do for an audience. It is something you do because of who you are. The dishwasher who washes dishes greatly when no one is watching is the same person who will build something great when everyone is watching. The character is the same, only the stage is different. Let me ask you something honest. Do you only try hard when someone is watching? Do you only give your best when there is a reward, a prize, someone to impress? Most people do. Most people save their effort for the big moments and drift through the small ones. But the truth is, there are no small moments. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. The care you bring to the smallest task is the same care that will define your largest one. You are not building a resume in those small moments. You are building a self. Imagine two workers. Both have boring, ordinary jobs. The first one thinks, "This does not matter. I will give my best when something important comes along." So he gives a little. He coasts. He waits. The second one thinks, "The way I do this small thing is the way I am becoming." So she gives it everything, quietly, with no audience. Years pass. When a real opportunity finally arrives, which one is ready for it? Not the one who was waiting to start trying. The one who had been training all along, in the dark, with no applause. So whatever small thing is in front of you today, do not wait for a bigger stage to bring your best. Bring it now. Because the bigger stage only ever comes to the people who are already great on the small one. Let me go back to that diner booth too, because there is one more thing in it. 3 engineers, coffee, breakfast food, an idea. No office, no money, no certainty. And from that humble booth, the most valuable company in the world was born. But I want you to notice something else about that moment. They were not alone. There were 3 of them. They built it together. So often we imagine that we must do everything alone, that asking for help is weakness, that we must carry our dreams entirely by ourselves. But even Jensen Huang did not build his dream alone. He sat in that booth with 2 others. He shared the idea. He shared the risk. He shared the journey. There is a quiet lesson there. The people you sit with matter. The ones you share your dreams with, the ones who believe alongside you, the ones who will keep going when you are tired. You do not have to carry everything alone. And you were never meant to. Let me ask you, who is in your booth? Who are the people who believe in your dream with you? And if you cannot think of anyone, then let me gently say it may be time to find them. The right people, even just one or two, can turn an impossible idea into a company that changes the world. Or they can turn an impossible season in your life into one you actually survive. And let me return, finally, to that first failure, because I rushed past something important. When NVIDIA's first product failed, the team had a choice. And the choice they made is the whole reason we know their name today. They chose to see the failure as information, not as a verdict. This is such a small shift in thinking, but it changes everything. A verdict says, you failed, therefore you are a failure, therefore stop. Information says, that did not work, so now you know more than you did before, so adjust and continue. The exact same failure, two completely different meanings. And the meaning you choose decides whether you quit or keep going. Let me ask you to think about your own failures for a moment. The times you tried and it did not work. Did you treat them as verdicts or as information? Did you let them tell you who you are, or did you let them teach you what to do next? Because here is the truth. Failure is only final if you decide it is. Every failure that you survive and learn from is not really a failure at all. It is a lesson you paid for. And the only people who never fail are the people who never try anything worth failing at. So if you have failed, even many times, you are not behind. You are gathering lessons. You are becoming someone who knows things that only failure can teach. Keep going. The failure is not the end of your story. It is your education. There is one more thing I want to say about fear before we finish, because I think it is the thing that holds back more people than anything else in the world. We tend to believe that successful people are fearless. We look at someone like Jensen Huang, leading a giant company, standing on stages in front of thousands, and we think, that person must not feel fear like I do. That person must be made of something stronger. But it is not true. Remember what he said. He fears failure. He has carried the thought, we are 30 days from going out of business for years. The man at the very top of the world still feels the fear. He never stopped feeling it. He simply learned to work with it instead of against it. So let me free you from a lie that may have been holding you back. You have been waiting, perhaps, to feel confident before you act. You have been telling yourself, once I am not afraid anymore, then I will begin. Once the fear goes away, then I will try. But the fear may never fully go away. And if you wait for it to disappear, you will wait your whole life. Confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes from action. You do not think your way out of fear. You act your way through it. Let me give you one last comparison. Imagine two people who both dream of doing something difficult. The first one says, I will start when I feel ready. So they wait. They wait to feel brave. They wait to feel sure. And the readiness never comes, and so they never begin. The second one feels exactly as afraid as the first, just as unsure, just as shaky inside, but they begin anyway while still afraid. And in the doing, Slowly, their courage grows. After 1 year, who is living the life they dreamed of? Not the one who waited to feel ready, the one who acted while afraid. This is the secret that people like Jensen Huang understand. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in the presence of fear. The boy in Kentucky was afraid. The young founder watching his product fail was afraid. The leader saying we are always near the edge was afraid. And they moved forward anyway. Every single time. So please stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for the fear to leave. It may walk beside you for the whole journey. Let it. Take it with you and move forward anyway. That is what brave people actually do. They are not the ones without fear. They are the ones who carry it and keep walking. Let us come to the final part. What his story means for you. So here we are. A 9-year-old boy cleaning toilets in a rough school far from home. A teenager washing dishes at a diner, doing it better than anyone. A 30-year-old sketching an impossible idea on a napkin in a booth. A founder watching his first product fail and refusing to quit. A leader taking his deepest fear and turning it into his greatest strength. And at the end of all of it, the most valuable company in the world. A man who shaped the entire future of technology. But I told you at the start that this was not really a story about chips or money or business. And it is not. It is a story about you. Because every single chapter of Jensen Huang's story is a mirror. And in it you can see your own life. Have you ever been placed somewhere hard and unfair like that boy in Kentucky? You decide who you become there. Have you ever been stuck doing small, unglamorous work like that dishwasher? You can choose to do it greatly and build the habits that will carry you for life. Have you ever waited for the perfect place to begin when all you ever needed was a humble booth and the courage to start? Have you ever failed at your first real attempt and wondered if you should quit? Everyone who built anything failed first. Have you ever been frozen by fear, when that fear could have been the very fuel that pushed you forward? You see, you do not need to be a genius to take something from this story. You do not need to understand technology. You do not need to build a company. You only need to remember a few simple things. The lowest place you stand does not define you. What you become there does. The small thing in front of you matters. Do it greatly. You do not need the perfect place or time to begin. You only need to begin. Your first failure is not the end. It is part of the path. And your fear is not a wall. It can be your fuel. Jensen Huang was not born into wealth. He was not handed an easy life. He started below almost everyone. A small boy in a strange land with a brush in his hand, cleaning bathrooms. And if that boy could rise to the very top of the world, then please, hear me. The place where you are standing right now, however low it feels, however hard, however unfair, is not the end of your story. It might just be the beginning. So do not give up on yourself. Do not wait for someone else to believe in you. Do not let the small work, or the hard place, or the first failure, or the fear convince you that you are not meant for more. Wash the living daylights out of whatever is in front of you today. Begin wherever you are. Get up after you fall, and let your fear remind you that you are awake and alive and standing at the edge of a story that is still being written. Let me leave you with one small detail about Jensen Huang that I love. He does not wear a watch. When people ask him why, he says it helps him stay in the present moment. He does not want to be pulled toward the next thing, and the next, and the next. He wants to be fully here, in the work, in the moment that is happening right now. I think there is something quietly beautiful in that. Because so many of us live everywhere except where we are. We live in regret about the past. We live in worry about the future. We live in the life we wish we had, instead of the one we are actually in. But the boy in Kentucky did not become who he became by living somewhere else in his mind. He became who he was by being fully present in each hard moment and doing his best work right there. Cleaning the bathroom that was in front of him, washing the dishes that were in front of him, building the company that was in front of him, facing the fear that was in front of him. Always present, always here. So let me ask you one last question. Where are you living right now? Are you living in this moment, the only one you actually have? Or are you somewhere else, waiting for a better time to begin your real life? Your real life is not waiting somewhere in the future. It is here. It is now. It is this ordinary, imperfect present moment. And this moment, the one you are in right now, is the only place you can ever begin. So take off the watch in your own way. Stop waiting for later. Stop living in the life you do not have yet. Come back to this moment, the small and ordinary and powerful present, and begin your story right here. Because your story is not finished. Not even close, because it is being written. By you starting now.